Hey everybody, welcome to get into this second game of this particular best of three. We're going to be spawning directly directly on Underrated Gaming's HypeR, and I believe I forgot to do the voting again. Okay, so you're directly on top of HypeR, who's the representative for Underrated Gaming, and he is right now down 0-1. He attempted to go for a really cheesy build in that last game. He wanted to actually go for a 10 pool crazy all-in weirdness, and apparently he just had to go so he 10 pooled, but that makes no sense because he's still here, so apparently he did not need to go.
Yeah, it's a interesting excuse.
Yeah. Well, FlawlessZerg's his opponent. He's the yellow Zerg in top right. Run Daybreak, and it's another ZVZ.
Yeah, and the last one not really going in HypeR's favor. FlawlessZerg actually having a flawless counter to that 10 pull. The roaches, of course, were also in his plan. They popped at the exact right time too, so that was actually really epic. I'm sure he's pretty glad about that too. But we'll have to see what they decide to do here. Daybreak, a pretty long map, so as you can see, no 10 pulls. You know, yay. So maybe some macro games coming here, and probably 15 hatches for both people, or both players.
Yeah. You want to hear something really, really weird?
Okay.
Daybreak is my favorite ZVZ map.
That is a little weird.
Yes. I can tell you exactly why if you're interested.
Sure.
I was not fishing for that at all. Because Daybreak is a two-player map, but has an incredibly long distance, and it can lead to some really interesting metagame type of play. Because right now we're seeing HypeR going for a hatchery first, which is okay in ZVZ, but if that build that happened in the last game happened against him, just completely blind, the Overlord takes a long time to get over there, so you may not actually see it in time, and there's the issue of just straight up massing lings and then hitting before any type of bailings can come out from the person that's not going for the hatchery first, so people still have to end up playing safely or just risk outright losing, and it can lead to some very, very interesting strategy versus strategy games.
Yeah, ZVZ has evolved so much. You have these back and forth, like you were explaining. Now, it does look like FlawlessZerg is going to be putting on some pressure with some fast speed links. He could still expand, but even if he expands, he could still put on a lot of pressure. That would mean that HypeR would have time to get that Banling's Nest. So we'll have to see if he's going to go for a one base for a little while. Nope, hatchery's down. I don't know what I'm talking about. We'll have to see if he bothers droning that hatchery, and if he's actually going to go for some type of Banling Ling all in, or if he's just going for a more safe, little more aggressive in the early game opener. Silence.
Oh yeah, sorry. I was quickly making sure that I actually had the voices and everything moved in, so I was kind of reading that stuff to make sure that's good. Which I guess leads me into a segue. You guys should actually do that. I don't think I've actually said that yet, but go to xanderfever.tv/vote, and you can vote for one of these people. Yeah, I was just making sure I didn't screw up again. Which ended up leading to another screw up. Because I'm oh so professional.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I can feel it.
Cool.
But does look like FlawlessZerg just went for that safer opener. So drones were main-arted. That's the one thing I wanted to talk about that I never got to talk about, was the fact that people have been debating, you know, main-arting, transferring drones from one hatchery to another. Usually, you know, it was really popular with Zergs. But people have been saying that lately, actually just rallying your natural for like 2 minutes to your main to your natural for 2 minutes is more economic than just pulling the drones and sending them there. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I actually switched to doing that myself, but one thing that I couldn't shake was the feeling that it ends up not being more economical, but it's just easier to not mess up.
That's true.
So I don't really, I've been toying with the fact that it's actually more economical, and I can't decide, because on the one side, you're sending your main drones all the way down to your natural expansion, and that wastes a lot of time for every single drone, and that adds up. But if you're rallying them from each hatchery to itself, it can come back completely unevenly. So you have 30 drones at one hatch and 10 drones at the other hatch, and that's definitely not good. So I don't know. I don't know if it's safer or whatnot.
I'm sure there's some very specific math that goes into it.
That I'm not
but
gonna
like, Yeah, exactly. And the specific math means that you have to do it perfectly, and rarely anyone actually does these really, really small things perfectly. It's like that new, what's the mineral drill patch thing that happened in this patch, where you can shift click. You have to do it perfectly, or it doesn't actually work. So I think it's kind of the same thing.
Oh, that.
Uh,
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
They were called. It's called sock folding.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah. Oh, that's been around forever.
Well, it was. It used to be like in the old patches, but they patched it out.
Did they patch it back in?
And now it's back in. I was talking to some guy, and he was like, "Yeah, the old way was that you like hit the R, you hit the return button, the gather,
Yeah.
and that made it faster. But now you shift click, so they don't decelerate."
Ooh, I could
Yeah.
actually say that sounds so much easier. Cause I was trying to sock fold, and I literally just could do one out of every 4 drones, making me lose 3 drones of mining for a while.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens. But no, that's back in, and I don't even mind if they don't get rid of it this time. That's just one of the things, Brutal was so good because they could find these kind of like little tiny things that means the mechanical players get the better edge. I think the whole shift clicking could mean it because it does do a significant boost, but it's really hard to do consistently and perfectly. So, but back into the game, all this like theorizing and stuff aside, we actually saw a very early lair from FlawlessZerg, but HypeR did scout it. He saw the roach form, he saw the evo chamber, the early lair, the gases, everything, and he's actually ahead by 10 supply right now.
What's actually kind of nice though is that FlawlessZerg just picked off 2 creep tumors at the natural of HypeR, so HypeR no longer has lead creep tumors going to either of his bases.
Oh, that's very interesting to point out. Not sure how it's really going to affect right now. Usually that would be really, really helpful if he was like, baneling busting, so the queens would have a harder time helping out. But, it's still always useful to do it. And, oh my gosh, the Overlord spread from these guys is perfect. But we have a skirmish at the 3rd. They gets the cancel. Very nice.
Yep, we got the cancel. Now we're having, FlawlessZerg attack HypeR's banelings. There we go. Good trade.
These 2 banelings could take out HypeR's banelings, and they do. Nice trade by FlawlessZerg.
Yep, very nice indeed. And that makes me think that I might be a second or 2 ahead of you. Where are you at? I just hit 1001, 1002, 1003. Where are you?
Okay, now I'm perfect.
Okay, cool. Alright, so now HypeR's 3rd is done. He just traded very well. He took out a base of FlawlessZerg. He's ahead in the food count. Things are looking to be very solid for him because both players have their lair tech out and both of them are going roaches right now. FlawlessZerg is finished with his Gleaver Constitution. HypeR is almost done with his. But definitely something to realize though is that HypeR right now is working on +1 missile attacks while we've got +2 coming down for FlawlessZerg. But later they're going to the main.
Yeah, they got past the roaches. The roaches, of course, are very slow, especially out without the speeders thing just finished. And a lot of drones going down, as well as a queen, so 7 drones taken for HypeR, and the Lings might get out, too.
Oh, no, they're not. That is what we call overwhelming death.
Yeah, exactly. He's actually, HypeR's still up by 40 supply. I don't know where well, actually, I take that back. Let's check the units. Flawless has 13. Well, where did that supply come from?
It's the production.
His opening wasn't that... Well, okay, actually, that's right. He took down the 3rd for such a long time that HypeR has had that 3rd up for so much longer, so that definitely explains it.
Yeah, well, we got 18 Banes from Flawless coming in to start trying to attack, but you know what? HypeR is really, really heavy on roaches, but if those can get great splash damage shots, notice how they're going up at the top of the ramp right now. Now they're going to turn around. Oh, big explosions, but you know what? Roaches are just that tanky.
Yeah, that was actually probably almost the best explosion that he could have hoped for. But you're right, they're so good, It takes a lot of banelings to take those down, and now Flawless is going to be really, really behind. That was a lot of gas, doing pretty much no damage.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the units lost tab, basically you can summarize the entire difference as gas. And Zerg relies on gas so much that if you have one person taking that much of a gas income lead, it's devastating. There's really no other way to put it. It's potentially devastating. It forces you, the other person, to add in Lings, which can really help because they'll act as tanks plus DPSers, but you want those Infestors, you want the extra roaches, you want the Mutas, you want the Hydras, you want all these really important units that require gas.
Yeah, he's now up by 44 supply. He's going in for the 3rd. Infestors are on the way for Flawless, as in the Infestation Pit just finished, so not really on the way. They're so far off, so many roaches with a better upgrade. count for them as well. So Flawless just going to lose his army here, lose his third, and probably lose the game.
Yeah, it's very hard to come back from a 40 supply deficit, and there we go. GG by FlawlessZerg. Not even going to wait to lose that extra base because you know what? The game is done, and we all know it. And with that, we actually get to another Game 3. Which is incredibly cool. I love this. A lot of deciding tense games, and I think it's fascinating in this particular one because of the way the first game went in comparison to the second game, showing HypeR is not just a cheeser.
Yeah, so it's a good thing to point out. He has some diversity, and